Friends, I think we're live. I'm pretty sure we're live. We're having a little problem with the monitoring, and I just really appreciate all you guys taking your time and your patience. I just want to say welcome to our home, the home of Hispanic Lifestyle. We felt it was important to hold our annual Latina Conference, important to shine the spotlight on our Latinas of influence. Pushing forward our platform, HispanicLifestyle.com, with the digital presentation of Latina Conference 2020, Connecting Latinas of Influence. This has been an exciting experience and challenging at that. Today's program will be produced exclusively online, and we have videos, we have the cooking workshops, we have insights from financial experts, a community health update, and we will highlight, get this, all of our 31 Latinas of influence. That's our 2020 Latinas of influence, with an introductory video that'll start in a second, followed by discussions on business, community, education, and media. I really want to thank those sponsors who stood with us during these unprecedented times. Their support has allowed us to expand our reach and share these inspiring stories with our community. On a sentimental note, this is my sister Virginia's birthday, and I just wanted to remember her on this day. I want to thank you for your time today as we connect you with Latinas of influence. And now it's my pleasure to introduce one of my partners here, if you will, Jenny Marie. Jenny Marie, I hope you're there, and I hope this works out.
I'm here. Good morning, everybody.
As my kids refer to it, Dad put on his hair. So, black hair. One of the things that probably confuses a lot of people is the fact that our Latina conference, which we would have done in April, and some of the people ask me, why 31 Latinas of influence? And we celebrate one Latina of influence every day during Women's History Month, which is March. And so that's how we come up with the 31 Latinas of influence. The other thing is that, I've got this whole setup here going, and I have been working with this listing of Latinas of influence since mid-October when we first got our nominations. That is a long time. So, we've postponed this event. We've rescheduled the event, all as part of COVID. And I want to throw it to you a little bit. I know you've had some challenges as well, too, Jenny Marie. And yeah, share a little bit about that. And then dealing with COVID-19. I mean, that's, and all the restriction. Well, usually we would be working alongside each other. I'm literally here in my office by myself. I don't know why I keep using the hands. I am actually of Mexican descent. So I don't know why I keep using my hands out here, but I wanted to share one thing and a thought process, and that is the COVID-19. I'm sorry, I got a lot of distractions here, but one of the things was pivoting. That is the key word. Somebody asked me before about that, pivoting. Whether it was in business, whether it was this conference, or whether it was other things that we were doing. But the key was pivoting. So your thoughts on that as well, Jenny Marie. Well, I think I'm apologizing. I can hear you perfectly, but apparently our setup is not doing your audio. So, and I can't hear you. I can hear you out of my ear, but I can't hear them. So what I'm going to do, Jenny Marie, I'm going to go right to a couple of videos that we have pre-recorded and get started with that. So if you will, thank you, and I'll be back to you when we figure this out. Thanks.
Good morning, Richard and Alice Perez. Happy to be here. I work for Wells Fargo Bank. I've been there for 29 years and get to oversee and have the privilege of supporting over 1,100 team members in our branch channels, which is really exciting. Just a little history back, though. I started when I was 5. Just kidding. But 29 years with Wells Fargo has been a great ride on the stagecoach, and it had a lot of time with 2 children, actually 22 and 20. And I'm excited to be here to support the Latinas. Just to think in starting in the industry 29 years ago, it's been exciting. When I think about what Wells Fargo does, and I just talked about being with them 29 years, but if we think of today, we fast forward to where we're sitting here today, really, Wells Fargo's built a diverse team that represents diverse backgrounds, and a lot of them are Latinas in the area, especially Inland Empire, but across the company. And really, that's where I feel Wells Fargo has it, is diversity is our strength. And it really makes an impact when we're out in our communities. And being a previous Latina of influence, thank you, Richard, I'm honored to be able to welcome everyone here today. But when I think in the face of unprecedented times, it's hopeful and refreshing to see a class of Latinas out there doing extraordinary things, and Wells Fargo is doing the same thing for their communities, making sure we're there to lend a helping hand when we're having trials and customers may not be so sure what's going on in the economy today. So a great way for us to help support out there in our communities today is really looking at how can we help the small businesses. I mean, we talk about it today. You have a lot of Latinas influence out there, and business owners and so forth of making impact into the industry. And so me, being a previous Latina of influence, I'm really excited to be here today to get to welcome everyone, as well as introduce those Latinas of influence. And then in the face of the difficult and unprecedented times, it's hopeful and refreshing to know what those Latinas are doing out there and extraordinary things that I heard in the stories shared, each and every one of them. And then when we think of Wells Fargo in the community, we're making sure we're there during this time of need. So if there's something they need, they think of finances, we're hearing all the things in the economy. It's really important we're able to lend a helping hand to those small businesses, and of course, all the diverse backgrounds that are out there. In addition, I'd like to thank the 2020 Latinas of Influence for being such an aspiration for everyone watching today and for Latinas across the country. And then as I've looked through those profiles, the following words really stood out to me: strength, grit, positivity, and passion. Passion really stands out in how they're making such a difference. And while there may not be traits that are unique to Latinas, I feel like we harness them the best. So all those Latinas you have there today, Richard, I will have to say, very excited about all the strengths they exude and what they've done out there. But I also want to thank you for showcasing these Latinas to how they help the communities and move our country forward. We have some challenging times ahead, and with us navigating our way through this pandemic, as we've never had to go through something like this, and work harder to end racism and racial inequality. I hope today's speakers will provide you valuable insights to help everyone on their journey and create a brighter future, one we want our children and future generations to grow up in a better world. And this year's class of honorees, they're going to inspire all of you today. And remember that it's a bright, better future is always possible for everyone. So thank you for being here and joining us for our event today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to now share with you the Hispanic Lifestyle's 2020 Latinas of Influence.
Welcome to this very special digital presentation by Hispanic Lifestyle, Latina Conference 2020, Connecting Latinas of Influence. We are proud to have the sponsored support of Wells Fargo Bank, Riverside County Economic Development Agency, Coca-Cola, the Small Business Development Corporation of Orange County, Inland Empire Health Plan, and Goya Foods. Our program and the complete listing of Hispanic Lifestyle's 2020 Latinas of Influence can be found on our website, HispanicLifestyle.com. When you post on social media, please use the hashtag Latina Conference 2020. I'm your host, a 2013 Hispanic Lifestyle Latina of Influence honoree, Ana Vergara. And it's my pleasure to present to you the 2020 Latinas of Influence. Engineer and musician Aurelia Gooden.
Like you, I was also raised by my mother, and I grew up in Detroit, but my mother is actually from Alabama, but she spent a lot of her time there growing up on an Indian reservation, or was actually an old Indian reservation, not active when she was there, but all of her relatives were Native American. So it was a little bit of a challenge because basically the beliefs that I was being taught at home weren't really the same beliefs being taught to other members of my family or people in the community. So in a way, I was kind of always the odd girl out, but now I actually appreciate that more. And I see my mom as a big role model because she did teach me a lot of things that I think make me a unique person instead of just another neighborhood girl that has like nothing unique about herself and has no goal or motivation.
Business executive and community advocate, Catherine Garces.
I'm an activist representing my Latino community. I've always been the first one to say I'm here, when it comes to a woman empowerment situation. I don't think twice. I'm always there to support women to grow. I believe that we need to grow together when it comes to supporting women and our children, and how do we rise together, in any sort of aspect. I was formerly with New York Life for about 11 years. And I decided to start a new venture, with a new business called Andrea's Healthy Kitchen. And currently I'm the CMO. So I handle all the marketing and all that corporate fun stuff that I love to do, that I'm known for. I do public relations for that too. So I'm really excited about this new venture. I have 3 amazing kids, and they are the reason why I keep going and going in life. I know they're watching everything mom does. So I have to prepare 3 future leaders for this country. So I have to make sure that it's my responsibility that I have these 3 kids to be one day a role model. So that's my biggest goal.
Director Academic Success at UC Riverside, Christina Granillo, PhD.
So to work at UC Riverside for the School of Medicine was to come home for me. I am who I am because of the education I received at UC Riverside as an undergraduate. And I started out, as a Latina there, wanting to be a doctor, a physician, because from coming from a Latina household, you were going to be a doctor or a lawyer. If you were going to go to college, your mom wanted you to be a doctor or a lawyer. So I was going to be a doctor. I like science. Then I started to actually take the classes to become a doctor. Didn't really like them. Fell in love with psychology. But what a crooked path that I got my PhD in psychology, and now I'm helping to have students become doctors at UC Riverside, where I wanted to become a doctor at. And my husband hears me, he's like, you should just take the test at this point, because, right, I'm talking about microbiome, we're talking about path, we're talking about hemonc, we're talking about anatomy, all of these different things. And so what I tell the students, even when they're up against a barrier or challenge where they think they're right, they're not going to get their number, they're not going to reach their goal, right? I said, I never in a million years, when I thought I was going to be a physician freshman year in bio class, that I was going to go get a PhD in psychology and now be sitting in here and telling you how to study to become a doctor, right? So life is not a straight path. And sometimes the crooked path is the best way.
Director, Product Management, Prudential Financial, Claudia Vasquez.
I've had the privilege to be surrounded by, many Latinas. And number one, I would say, bring others along with you. And what I mean by that is that there's always going to be someone who is less experienced than you. There's always going to be someone that is more junior than you are. There's someone always watching what you do, how you do it, how do you come across, what's your presence, what's the rapport. And they see you as a role model, even though they may not necessarily be sharing that directly with you. It's amazing. So don't wait for that person to ask you, to help them. Just always say, is there something that I can do for you? And you will be amazed, because I see it as a two-way learning. I have benefited so much from giving my time to those that are less experienced. Number two, be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Many times when I moved from California, first from Mexico to California, then from California to New Jersey with 3 kids, my husband, my dog, it's completely out of my comfort zone, but I have absolutely no regrets, because a different world of opportunities has opened up since I moved to the East Coast area, and my children had been able to experience attending summer courses in Harvard and MIT and Yale, and so you just never know what's waiting for you. So be okay with being uncomfortable and raise your hand many times, and be comfortable with sharing your thoughts.
Public Affairs Manager, Southern California Gas Company, Denise Campos.
I was born and raised in Los Angeles. I'm the first in my family to attend college, and I went to San Diego State University, where I studied political science and Chicano studies. And the Chicano studies part was just like a hobby, because I was so fascinated and so thirsty for that information that it ended up being enough classes for the major. But I'm born and raised in Los Angeles.
Vice President, Multicultural Communication, Zeno Group, Denise Montalban.
It's called the Orphaned Earring because what I do is I ask people to donate, or women to donate, the earrings they lost. When you have an earring and you lose the other one becomes an orphan. Well, I ask women to donate those earrings, and I beat them into a bracelet so that they're no longer orphans, and I sell them, and 100% of it goes to support 5 orphanages that we support through the Orphaned Earring. And that was just something I used to do for college to pay for books and tuition. And now I still do it, but this time to support the children that might feel that they have no one else to support them or to love them. And that's the Orphaned Earring.
Publisher and author of LC Publishing Company, Lou Guerrero.
With the Advancing Latinas into Leadership, we're currently working on an e-mentoring program. We found out that schools are not going to be opening in the fall. So the board, as well as myself, we are working together to do an e-mentoring program, and we're going to open up to the horizon. Right now, we were serving children in DC. We're hoping to open it to other students in different states since it will be online. So we're working on that project right now for this summer. My children's books are actually on hold right now. Because I want to be able to be good at everything, don't want to be the jack of all trades and the master of none. So as of now, I'm working on the mentoring program and studying for the bar. After the bar, I hope to publish more books. I do have a long wait list. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of the books are based on real children, real families. And I've been very fortunate to have people share their stories with me. And we will be releasing 3 books this fall. And I will be also working on my first advocacy training workshops for Latino families to learn about their rights under IDEA in the fall as well. Depending on the COVID, it might be online, but I'm hoping for it to be in person in the community. So those are the things that I'm working on when I take a break from learning the law.
Managing Partner, VACO Los Angeles, Frances Moreno.
I'm a CPA, so you can call me a math nerd, although I wasn't necessarily thrilled with math or science. That's probably why I became an accountant, because we have a specialty. So I am an accountant, and I started the firm in 2006 as a co-founder, and it's been a really fantastic 14-year ride so far. But my inspiration comes from my grandmother and my mother. I mean, they were powerhouses of influence in my life, just strong women, workers, and just very family spirited, and the Latina spirit lives on in me. And that's a good thing for my business, because it's doing well.
Supplier Diversity and Development Program Manager, Southern California Edison, Gloria Burton.
I actually was born in Honduras, Central America, and I migrated here when I was 9 months with my mom and dad, yes. Coming to America was, obviously I was just 9 months old, but it was different for me. And as I grew up, the first language that I spoke was Garifuna, which is a language spoken in Honduras, and also Spanish, yes. And so as I went to school here, is when I started to learn English and sort of learn about the American culture.
Business owner, Ortega Counseling Center, Hazel Ortega.
And I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have started nearly a dozen businesses that have become multi-million-dollar enterprises. And my passion is helping people improve the quality of their lives. I grew up in downtown Los Angeles on welfare, and it was a dangerous neighborhood, lots of drive-bys almost daily. I've lost best friends and family members to gang violence, and both my parents spent decades in prison. In spite of that, I was able to overcome those challenges and become an educational psychologist. And now I wrote a book on my journey of that, from bounce checks to private jets.
Vice President, General Manager, All Pro Broadcasting, Kim Martinez.
I would tell every female out there, do not be afraid to take a risk, and be comfortable who you are and who you're with, and regardless of your background, or regardless of your race or your religion or your beliefs, it's just follow your heart. And today I'm probably the most happiest I've ever been. I'm the most challenged I've ever been. That's what I have. I have the faith that I'm gonna get up every day and work hard, and I love being able to go home at night and look in the mirror and know that I did everything I was supposed to do today, and I did it the best I could possibly do it, and that I don't have to be ashamed.
Attorney and Chairwoman, Pasadena Rose Parade, Laura Farber.
And I have to tell you, I took advantage of being the first Latina to make sure that everything we did during the year, and not just during the year, but hopefully going forward, will represent and include the diverse aspects of our community. And I'm very, very proud of that. 8-year ladder to become president once you've been chair of a committee, and we have 32 operating committees. So it wasn't something I sought, but certainly when I was offered the opportunity, I was not going to turn it down, because it did present quite an opportunity to do what I think was important and good with an organization that brings so much joy and happiness to the world. So it was quite an experience. And I got to pick two things that nobody could tell me no. One was the theme, and the other was the Grand Marshal, and in instance, in my case, the Grand Marshals. So theme, the power of hope, el poder de la esperanza, and I have to tell you, it's still carrying on forward, obviously, right now, which has been amazing. And Grand Marshals, for the first time, 3 unbelievable Latinas, Lori Hernandez, Gina Torres, and Rita Moreno.
Founder and principal, Agency M Media, Marcie Perez.
We all have fans. In fact, I remember one employer when I was in new business sales on the PR agency side, that employer told me, she said, Marcie, people want to see you succeed. Tell your people, your community, your friends, your colleagues, tell them what you're trying to do. Tell them what you're trying to achieve. They want to see you win, but you have to tell it. You have to ask for it. And the people that are good, the people that are there, they're going to remember that. They're going to remember, wow, you know, last time I connected with her, she said she wanted to break into this type of industry for business. And hey, I just met someone. Let me go reach out to her. People want to see you succeed. So leverage your community, lean on your community, build that community.
Regional External Affairs Manager, Comcast, Maria Castro.
My mentors, I call them my personal board of directors. I've had an amazing run. I've had an amazing personal board of directors that have really guided me throughout the years. And I say this because, you know, starting out in my career, I was working at a bank for a while and, you know, just didn't feel comfortable because back in the day, you know, I was Latina, I was a person of color, and everybody that I worked with, unfortunately, was Caucasian. And so, you know, I didn't get invited to the lunches. I didn't get invited to the after hour, you know, drinks and things. And I couldn't really figure out why, because I've always had this like dynamic personality and I felt like, you know, I could fit in anywhere. But that's when it was reality to me.
Attorney at Law, Community Advocate, Maria E. Hall.
What's important to me is that we get access to legal services and justice all throughout our communities. So not just in Century City and Beverly Hills. So my goal, and with the incubator program as well, other lawyers, we want to get law into our own communities within Spanish language, Chinese language, all the many, many languages here in LA. And that means everything from landlord-tenant law to family law to estate planning, anything that we all need legal services for, but we can't always afford. So our mission is really to diversify the legal profession and to make legal services more affordable and accessible to all of our communities.
Business owner, La Caridad del Cobre, Michelle Lopez.
Soy dueña de la botánica La Caridad del Cobre, de botánica y florería. Mi labor es ser la dueña del negocio y mantener a mis empleados tranquilos en un ambiente a gusto y que estén bien. La botánica tiene 8 años. Ahorita cuenta con una solidez muy buena, gracias a Dios, a pesar de la pandemia. Hemos sobresalido todo este tiempo. Le tratamos de dar mucho trabajo a las personas que están en alcohol y drogas, mujeres que están golpeadas, que han tenido violencia doméstica, y ayudamos mucho a los programas de AA, a donde los programas de recapacitación para adolescentes.
Business owner, Evolving by Design, Monica Viramontes.
I feel like I've been in design since I was a very little girl. I'm an immigrant. I came from Mazatlan, Sinaloa, and my parents and I moved to California when I was 3 years old. And to make ends meet, my father had 2 jobs. In the evenings, he worked at a factory, and during the day and on weekends, he worked in his own construction company. So guess what I did on weekends and during the day? I worked in construction. And I would say that I do not have your typical upbringing. I am one of 4 girls, and all 4 of us grew up in the construction world.
Journalist, author, host, producer, Navy Reynoso.
I feel like what I'm doing now, which is my own publishing company, I've had to be a jack of all trades. I've had to learn the art of putting a marketing plan together, of producing a video so I could sell myself to the world and sell my products. So, you know, if you have a book and you want it to get into as many hands as possible because of your message that your book has, you need to know that marketing component. So as a producer of writing headlines, writing catchy titles, I mean, that's the skill that I learned there. Writing the book, it's not just putting words on paper, it's really words that flow from the heart, that make sense, that convey, that are powerful. And those are the types of skills I learned as a writer, as a reporter for, you know, writing stories.
Associate Director and Producer for Fox, The Real, Nancy C. Romero. Affordable Lending Manager, Freddie Mac, Nora Guerra.
When I was a young girl, my mom, my single mother, lost her home to foreclosure. And I remember thinking a 15-year-old girl should not be negotiating an exit strategy just because she's the only English speaker in her home. So if I can give anyone advice, find your true passion, stick with it. You know, make sure you advocate for your community, make sure you advocate for the local minority groups, you know, whatever you're passionate about, stick with it. And you know what, let me tell you, hard work, a great presence, and carrying yourself, you know, with that Latina pride, you know, never hurts us. Something I can say is the Latina of influence in my life was my mother, you know, working 2 and 3 jobs, but she was always showing up, and she always really taught us how to carry ourselves and how to take pride in who we are.
Attorney at Law, Community Advocate, Rosa Elena Sagoon.
I'm one of 9 children. I am the first in my family to graduate from high school and the first in my extended family to go to college. And because my family come from such humble beginnings, I know what it's like not to have at your fingertips a friend that's a lawyer, a friend that maybe is more familiar with the system, or a friend that maybe is a little more schooled with some of the basic information that can help the community. I was also a very young mother, and as a very young mother, I knew that I had to make a difference for not only myself, but for my son. And so that's where my spirit of activism came. It came from my roots, and knowing that even though I came from humble beginnings, I wasn't worth any less than my classmates in school that came from generations of attorneys or doctors. And I wanted to become a tool for our community to turn to when it comes to information. Not only did we champion this last cause with the attorney that's now in prison, but we have actively tried to expose some of the immigration fraud in the Coachella Valley, for example, where you have farm workers that have stories very similar to mine and where the injustices are a daily trend.
Chef and owner Provecho Grill, Rosie O'Connor.
We had to think quickly because we started thinking about families are at home. What is it actually that they're going to need? And at that time, we were running a shortage on toilet paper, paper towels, eggs, and dairy. That was something that people were having trouble getting that we had access to. We didn't want to become a little supermarket. You know, we wanted to make sure we provided. So we started providing taco kits where we have the carne asada, the carnitas, and the steak. You get beans, rice, tortilla. If you get a half a dozen of eggs, you got toilet paper. If you needed paper towels, we gave you paper towels with it. And we weren't charging for those products, for the paper towels and the toilet paper, and we just included it just to help our community out. So we had to think quickly. And then when we found out that we can sell alcohol, we started making our survival margaritas and our survival flavor margaritas, survival Mai Tai. But it was truly survival everything.
Transformational business and life coach, Sandy Lou Guerrero.
I think like most people's story of people that want to help people or that people that help people, I had support in my own life. So I went through a lifetime, I want to say until the age of 36, of a lot of loss, a lot of heartache, a lot of wrong turns, bad decisions. I can tell you, as a child, I was sexually abused. At the age of 23, my brother was killed by a random freeway sniper shooting. He was 5 days from his 22nd birthday. I ended up in a relationship, married, wrong choice, that ended up almost strangling me to death. I mean, you name it. I had miscarriages. I had a mother who was an alcoholic that struggled with alcoholism. I got married again, and self-esteem issues kept building and building and building, and it took a toll on the marriage.
Founder, Breathe of Fire Latina Theater Assemble, Lou Guerrero.
To find work for someone like me, a Latina who didn't feel represented, and that has led to me working with other institutes and organizations in developing relationships with the Latinx community to learn to shape stories based on these experiences, identify artists, to create opportunities for these artists, and then also expand the platform for existing work, right? Because there are things already happening that we just need to give them a larger platform.
Founder and publisher Para Todos, Sylvia Echar.
And I started Para Todos magazine 25 years ago, the first Spanish language publication in Orange County. I was empowered by Latinos that I used to take care in my position as an advisor. And then I jumped trying to help them more on top of my job, regular job, through a publication. But then I learned that I didn't know how to type. So I needed to learn from that on. But it was an incredible journey. And the best thing is to be connected with so many people, mainly Latino women.
State Comptroller of Illinois, Susana A. Mendoza.
My voice was one that I used to amplify as a megaphone for people who felt voiceless. And that is really why it was so exciting for me that it didn't matter how much money they spent against me as a candidate, the people got behind me, and we were able to build a coalition of support across the state in every region from north to south and east and west. And today I'm the controller, and I was reelected a couple years later for a 4-year term with the second largest vote total in the state of Illinois. So not just votes from Latinos, although I think the demographics are certainly one where there's so many more Latinos in Illinois than in other states, and certainly in the city of Chicago where I live. But, I needed to be able to build a coalition with not just Latinos, but African Americans and people who are in rural communities. And it all came together to make me the second largest vote getter in Illinois, and now the 4-year incumbent for the Controller's Office.
SBA Economic Development Specialist and Women's Business Outreach Representative Sylvia Gutierrez.
Here in our district, I can speak for them. They are doing a fantastic job reaching out to the Hispanic community and actually all our resource partners, the Women Business Centers and SCORE. I personally, I am working closely with SCORE to have webinars in Spanish to inform the community about the loan programs, about the process, about answering questions. And we are also, I know that the SBDC is also having workshops in Spanish, probably not as many as we should, but we are having workshops in Spanish. We have bilingual consultants to help people understand the application and in some instances walk them through the process with them online to be able to submit an application.
Director, Marketing Strategy, Disneyland Resort, Tatiana Coafe.
But my team specifically, we're focused on the long-term strategy and innovation, both from a marketing and commercial standpoint for the Disneyland Resort. So we're often working on projects out in the future. We worked on Star Wars Galaxy's Edge before that opened. And we are working, of course, on Avengers Campus coming up to the Disneyland Resort as well. So I feel like I, work on the most incredible projects all the time. I feel like I'm pinching myself in the office when we're having these meetings. But what I love the most is whenever we do have a chance to walk into the park and to just see the magic in people's eyes and the pixie dust, and it just reminds me why I work there. And it really just is to bring happiness and magic to people every day.
Restaurant executive and community leader Teresa Razo.
Why I got involved into more and more is because we're great believers that first you help others. If it took you 10 years from one place to another, and if I have the ability to help others and make it shorter and easier for them, that's how we're gonna get farther as a community, as Latinos, as business owners, as everything, as human beings. That's the only way we're gonna get there faster and better together. I always feel we have a feeling, and we have that vibe in our businesses, that together we are stronger.
Transformational soul coach and author Yuri Veras Bueno.
Why my father was able to be so successful, it was because she almost put herself in the background, right? And when he died, she got really ill, emotionally, mentally ill, and she couldn't really take care of me. But I couldn't understand that, so I created a lot of resentment and a lot of hatred at one point. And so it was all this thing that I was bringing with me, all this emotion, like very charged, strong emotions against women and against myself that basically made me feel less than. And at one point, I felt like I didn't want to be a woman because it was a disadvantage.
Okay. Entrepreneur and community advocate Yvonne Flores.
And as you can see in the back here, this is the office, which used to be the gallery. And it was just a lot of people for 5 hours. I couldn't encompass more people in this small space. So we had to close the gallery. And after that, I got onto the board for community engagement. And we are a 501(c)(3) that supports local artists. So recently during COVID-19, we just gave away $100 $500 grants to the first people who submitted submissions to all local artists. So $50,000 we gave away in 24 hours quite a few weeks back. So that meant a lot to me, that we could actually help artists give that money away when they needed it the most.
Well, that was our introductory video of our 2020 Latinas of Influence. I hope everybody can hear me, but we're just really getting our program started. That was our first session. We're going to be getting to our next session in a few seconds here. Hopefully you can see me. Hopefully you can hear me. But I'm Richard Sandoval. I am the president of Hispanic Lifestyle. Please share with your friends. You can go on HispanicLifestyle.com to view the live stream, which is via YouTube, or you can join us on Facebook or Twitter. And hope you're enjoying this. If you can't tell, this is our first time. Our next session I'm going to get into right away has to deal with finances and COVID-19, and my friend and colleague Olivia Padilla is going to help me with the next section.
My name's Olivia Padua. I am a Wells Fargo campus program manager, and I support colleges and universities in San Diego, Arizona, Nevada, and New Mexico. And what I get to do is I provide financial education for the students, the faculty, and the staff at those universities. So I'm really blessed to be able to do that. I've actually been working for Wells Fargo for over 12 years now. And I started in the bank branches, and I did everything from being a teller and a banker to managing branches. And then I got this opportunity to be a Wells Fargo program manager, which really focuses on financial education and financial health. which is a great passion of mine. So I get the ability to go out and talk to people about how to budget, how to understand credit, if they have lending needs, really what to look out for so that they can maximize on that all the way down to retirement. So I don't see this as a job. I see this as really a calling, and I feel really, really blessed to be here. Really, it's those life events that we want to make sure that we can take action on. So understanding not only how to budget, but taking small steps to make those budgets, and understanding how credit works, right? I think really the focus of the workshops that I do is making sure that you have the foundation to build and the tangible tools to have the future that you want. Thinking about COVID right now, one of the things that we emphasize is having at least 6 to 12 months of emergency savings. And, you know, we always think about, well, why do I need that? Or is that really important? And this is a perfect time when we need to, when we're going to be leveraging that, right? So planning ahead, thinking ahead, so that when these emergencies do happen, we have something to fall back on. That's what I get to do every day, is really think about how can we create a plan for you that's realistic, and that can help you and support you when these unexpected events happen. I don't think anyone anticipated for this to happen, and some of us were able to plan and some of us weren't. And so now it's my turn to go back and teach people how to make sure that they're taking the right steps so that this doesn't happen again.
Off camera, you and I talked about the fact that how do you budget when you have no income coming in? Right. Some of us are relying on subsidies, government subsidies. Give me some insights. And are there online tools that I could utilize in starting to frame a budget and a spending plan?
Well, yes, it's very hard to budget when you don't feel like you have enough inflow, right? But it's really taking a look at where are all my expenses going, and the cash that I am getting in, how am I maximizing that? A lot of people are getting some assistance from the government one way or another through our CARES funds. So how are you maximizing that money and making sure that you're making that money stretch? Let's take a look at those expenses that perhaps we can change our habits so that we can make sure that we're taking advantage of, or make sure that we're spending our money the right way, right? And so it's really taking a look at every line item. And there's tons of tools out there. I mean, Wells Fargo has a budget site where you can it's called My Money Map, and it allows you to map out where your money's going. But along with us, there's tons of tools out there. I'm sure the financial institutions, all of them usually have some version of a budgeting tool. Some people like the old school spreadsheets, and that works too, right? It's whatever works for you, but it's really just understanding where is my money coming in, how is it leaving, and the timing of it, right? Do I get the bills mostly at the beginning of the month or the end? How am I going to make that money that's coming in last that long? So it's definitely possible. I've had people with high and low incomes create their budget and be able to save. It's just about being strategic, and that's what we do. With more time, I'd be able to share that. Richard, today I invited some of my colleagues to come and talk to us about these topics. So I have Russ Renault, who is an expert in small business and consumer credit, Joanne Landa, who brings a wealth of knowledge around investment and retirement planning with over 25 years of experience in the financial industry. And Martin Sanchez has years of experience and in-depth knowledge on the mortgage industry.
Good afternoon. My name is Russ Renault, and I'm a retail and small business credit consultant for Wells Fargo Bank. I'm supporting our branch and regional teams here in the Inland Empire and across LA, even up into Ventura County. I've been with Wells Fargo for about 15 years and just very proud to be able to provide tools, resources, guidance to help our branch teams provide sound financial advice around lending options for our customers in need. First of all, I would say do your research, because there's a lot of different programs out there to help small businesses, both at the national level and at the local level. You've got all the various programs through the SBA, such as obviously the Paycheck Protection Program, which we were just talking about. Now that one is specifically a loan. There's also the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, or EIDLs. People refer to it as an EIDL loan. That is a loan, but there is a grant component to it as well. There's also bridge loans that are available through the SBAs, and they're exactly what it sounds like. It's a type of loan that would bridge the gap between trying to, get your business through this, and then also the expenses associated with trying to get the business reopened and reestablished. So there's a number of different programs. Obviously, we're working out there with a lot of the CDFIs, or the Community Development Financial Institutions, other various local, city, and state relief funds and things of that nature. So I would say just do your research on all of the resources that are available right now, because they are abundant. And certainly this is, if anything, there has never been a more critical time, I think, for a small business to take advantage of resources that are available.
I think you kind of alluded to it in the first question that I asked you, but if you would talk about how many small business owners that I guess Wells Fargo has helped impact over this period of time, COVID-19.
So first, since the beginning of the health crisis, we've been able to provide substantial credit and liquidity to customers to try to weather through this storm. In March alone, in fact, that first month that all of this hit, we had our commercial customers that were leveraging over $80 billion to be able, in loan commitments, to be able to help them get through this. Now, on top of existing loan commitments that we've already put in place, at the very beginning, just in those first few weeks, from about March 9th through, I believe it was about April 24th, we helped more than 1.7 million customers, and this is consumer, small business, commercial customers, with either deferring payments, reversing fees, extending maturity dates, things of that nature. In fact, we were able to either defer or waive over 1.4 million fees, which equaled about $75 million, back to customers to help support them right now. Added to all that, I mentioned earlier the Wells Fargo Foundation. We've already donated over $17 million specifically to small business, and that's part of our $175 million commitment to providing relief during the COVID-19 pandemic. And we're continuing to do so. As I mentioned, we're working with many local and state relief funds, city relief funds, various CDFIs, and a number of other programs that are out there to provide financial and technical guidance to entrepreneurs right now. I just have to tell you, I've never been more proud to work for this company. During this just very, very challenging time for so many people.
I use the word misconceptions, but is this a loan forgiveness? Is it a grant? Kind of clarify all this for me as a business owner and somebody that's maybe it hasn't impacted in the first couple of months, but moving forward, maybe it's a program that they really should look into.
Absolutely. So, first, that is a great question, and probably one of the most common questions that I'm receiving in my role from the field, because our business owners are wondering, what does the loan forgiveness look like? How does that work? So first, let me say that we are definitely here to help Wells Fargo customers try to understand and create some clarity around how their Paycheck Protection Program loans may be eligible for forgiveness. So the program itself and rules around forgiveness, as I'm sure you're aware, have definitely been evolving quite a bit here over time. And so my first recommendation would be to visit the PPP loan forgiveness website at wellsfargo.com. It is going to be the most up-to-date information, and we're continuing to update that daily, sometimes hourly, as more information becomes available from the SBA. So if you have received a PPP loan from Wells Fargo, here's a few things that you need to know. And again, this is right now, and I'll just reiterate, the information is evolving, so please check that website I mentioned. Now, first, the deposit that you received is technically a disbursement of a loan. However, your initial payments are going to be deferred for the first 6 months. So that's the first thing that you need to know. Again, it is a loan, and as such, it does accrue interest. It'll accrue interest at a rate of 1%, and that's including during the deferment, that initial deferment period. Now, according to the Small Business Administration, your entire Wells Fargo PPP loan may be forgiven if you're using the money for eligible expenses. Keep in mind, though, that the details on some of those eligible expenses are we're still kind of waiting for clarity, and it's dependent on some forthcoming information from the SBA. You will be able to apply for PPP loan forgiveness through your online banking portal. So for us, that would be business online banking or your commercial electronic office or CEO platform, whichever platform your business specifically is using. But generally, you won't be able to even apply for loan forgiveness until at least 8 weeks after you've received that initial disbursement. When you do apply, you're going to need to provide documentation for all of those eligible expenses. So definitely keep that in mind, and please, please, please keep track of all of your expenses during this time. After the 6-month deferment period, any balance that is still outstanding, including any interest that's accrued and any balance that has not been forgiven, will become a term loan at a rate of 1%, and you will need to start making monthly payments. But again, that's only on a balance that's in excess of any forgiven amount. So to wrap it up here, as you begin to use the money, start making payments, start gathering documentation, I'm certain that a lot more questions are going to come up. So again, one more time, I'm going to tell you, please refer to the Wells Fargo PPP loan forgiveness website on wellsfargo.com. That will continue to be updated, and you can also check out the SBA's website at sba.gov for information as it evolves on their end.
So Joanne Landa, I'm a senior investment strategist at Wells Fargo in the private bank, and I work with high net worth individuals and families. I also work with retirement plans and philanthropic groups to help them manage their liquid assets of their portfolios.
I'm jumping right into it.
Sure.
I read something the other day that came across, I'm watching news feeds all the time. Are we in a recession, and really, what does that mean, and how long will it take to recover?
So all indicators are pointing that we are in a recession now. So the formal measurement of a recession is based on 2 quarters of negative GDP growth, which we haven't quite finished this quarter yet. But all the underlying economic indicators are adding up that we're fairly confident to be able to say, yes, we're in a recession at this point. In terms of the timing, this has been a very, very rapid decrease into a recession. And that really was based on the controls and the information put into place to help restrict the spread of COVID-19 at this point. So this has been a huge market that has been researched and analyzed and written about for many years, more specifically, I think in the last decade. And part of that is, as we see this what we refer to as this transition of wealth, you're seeing, meaning the wealth is being passed from generation to generation. So we're now in that time period where we're seeing wealth of the baby boomer era being transitioned to the next generation. And as a result, greater percentages of women are now making those investment decisions or creating the wealth themselves. And so that's bringing a different aspect to it. In terms of investment strategies, I have not found in my personal experience that the strategies themselves are different. It's the approach to those strategies that women have opened up. Meaning, referring back to my comment about why are you investing? I have found that women take a more holistic approach to why they're trying to grow their wealth. There are different aspects. It's not just a competition. It's not just where can I get the highest return in the shortest amount of time. It's about what will the growth in these assets do for myself personally? What will it do for my family? What will it do for the business that I want to try to invest in or that I want to expand? And so the aspect in terms of the questions and the answers of why women invest are different in my experience, not necessarily how to implement the strategies. There are several resources available to learn about the investment markets and see what's right for you. At Wells Fargo, we have access on our website to something called the Wells Fargo Investment Institute. We also have Wells Fargo Wealth Planning. And so through our website, the Investment Institute gets very technical and we talk about the macro issues as well as the individual strategies. But then in our planning portion of our website, we actually talk about the quality and versus the quantity type of information. So the family dynamics, the relationship and the goals and objectives. And so the planning piece is a very important place to start to answer those questions from kind of a philosophical and what's important to you as an individual and as a family. And then the Investment Institute provides the deep dive into the research and the analytics. So those two resources combined are very helpful for individuals if they would like to reach out and look at those.
Since the 2008 financial crisis, Richard, we have realized the most important thing we can do is have a lot of speed to providing relief to our borrowers. So at Wells Fargo, we wanted to make it easy for our borrowers to apply for forbearance. So that's what we did. They can call us. They can apply on wellsfargo.com. But also now that the 90 days is coming up, the initial 90 days end is coming up, we want to make sure it's also easy for them to continue to extend it if that's what they need. So on wellsfargo.com, they can go ahead and just with a few clicks, let us know they still need assistance. And that's what we'll do for them. We'll help them during these challenging times and still continue to be there for them. So I'm part of the mortgage outreach team within Wells Fargo that works with our Wells Fargo home lending borrowers who are facing financial challenges, especially now during COVID-19. And particularly I work with HUD-approved nonprofit housing agencies that assist our borrowers when they're having difficulty making their payments and other issues in their lives. So the payment suspension program, also known as a forbearance, is an opportunity to temporarily suspend your mortgage payments for an initial 90 days, and it can be renewed up to 3 times for up to 12 months. However, you will have to pay back that mortgage when it's convenient for you, whether it be at the end of your forbearance period or at the end of the loan. We'll work with you to make sure they're able to have a good time that works with you and your household, and make sure you're financially successful. However, you will have to pay back that mortgage when it's convenient.
That better? I can hear you. Can you hear?
Can you hear me? I believe I'm looking at my monitors and you can. Thank you. Jenny Marie, can we hear you?
Can you hear me? Hi.
No, we cannot hear.
Okay.
We cannot hear Jenny Marie.
Well,
but we definitely can hear me. You can hear Jenny Marie? Oh, I just can't hear you.
Okay.
We're gonna work our way through this. We got people calling. I want to thank all of you for your time today. Again, we're broadcasting from our home, the headquarters of Hispanic Lifestyle, and Jenny Marie. We've got it's almost getting to be that hour, and our friends over at Goya and the owner of Provecho Grill, Chef Rosie, is going to make steak picado for us. So
love steak picado. That's my daddy's favorite. Love it. Don't know how to make it, but I love it.
Okay. Well, on my end, I understand you're speaking, but I cannot hear. So that signal's going out to our tech who's following us. But I am going to get right into our friends, sponsored by our friends over at Goya Food. Get your pencils out or your pad, and you can go ahead and start typing in right now for steak picado.
My daddy is Ricardo Solano. He is the owner of Guadalajara Mexican Grill in Lake Elsinore, and I have my special brother, Ricky Solano, and they are in Temecula and Lake Elsinore, and they're already open, but they love Goya products. We use them in our restaurants. I use my favorite, and I know that you've seen me at home, and I get to take this bad boy home today, but this is the sazonador, and then it's wonderful. I use it on everything. I use it on fish. I use it on chicken. I absolutely love it. You've seen me use the olive oil, and it's an award-winning olive oil from Spain, and it's just a wonderful product. Extra virgin olive oil is definitely the pride of Goya and the pride of my household. So we are going to start with some bell peppers. I'm going to use some green bell peppers, red bell peppers, because I want to have a nice colorful plate. And I even have Happy Father's Day. Ta-da! In case you forget why we're here today, Happy Father's Day. And in case you forget who we are celebrating, voila, Dad. So there you go. We are also going to use the minced garlic ajo picado. And ajo picado is wonderful, and I like to add a little ajo as well. And if you don't have it, you can also use fresh ajo. So I'm going to start with some bell peppers here. I'm going to join them. Where's my little container? Put some here. There you go. And we did some pre-chopping ahead of time because we know we are only going to keep you here for 10 minutes. Now, I'm using flat meat today. So I like the USDA certified flat meat, and it's nice. It's nice, juicy. I don't know if you can see all the marbling in it. If you really want to step it up, my good friend Oralia from Goya, she loves to make her steak picado with ribeye, and I do think that if you can afford it, use a little ribeye. I know right now times are tough with the cost of beef. I know it has gone up, but it's a good you can use pretty much any quick fire meat because we're going to be making it pretty quickly. It is a saute technique, so you have to cook it pretty quick with in high heat, and it's a fast thing, especially for those guys that want to impress the ladies. This is a quick dish, 5 minutes in, boom, you're done. The majority of time you're going to spend is basically just putting your products together. If you're a vegetarian, like our friend Bill Gold is, you can use some mushrooms. There's some great portobellini mushrooms, and they're very meaty. You can also saute some tofu and use the same ingredients, same methods. Pick this up. This is great for any of your vegetarian dishes. It really brings up the flavors of your vegetables. So it's really one of my favorites. So if you don't have one, I'll be glad to give you one. So I cut up all our steak picado. What you need, the recipe, it calls for 6 ounces of your flat meat. I'm going to make a little bit more. I have a little extra. I definitely want to leave the CEO of Hispanic Lifestyle. I want to leave dinner so his wife doesn't have to cook today. So they have dinner already set. So we're going to heat up our pan a little bit. Never start with a cold pan. So So we're putting in about a teaspoon there. And I'm going to sear it. We have chopped tomatoes. We have chopped onions. Poquito de cilantro that you absolutely hate. So I have some little bit of chicken stock too. There we go. And pick that up. Now here's what I like about this tomato sauce. Look at the color. Look how rich that is. Look how nice and red. And look at the thickness. The thing that we look for as chefs, we want to make sure that it's nice, rich, and thick. We're also going to use a little bit of bay leaves. I am using just a little bit of regular oregano. I'm going to sear this just to give it that browning. Traps in the juices, and that's what I want. So it's not bland. So there's a little cooking tip there, and you can really hear that. That's beautiful. I'm using chile serrano just for a little bit of spice. You can make it as spicy as you want. There you go. We're adding a little brown color to that. See how we go? All right. So we want to sear it nice. We got it on high. Like I said, it was a quick saute. You see that nice sizzling? We're going to add the tomatoes. So right now we've added the sazonador, where we added the bell peppers and the onions. Okay, now here's the trick. We're gonna add our tomato sauce. Then 1 tablespoon would do. I added 2 steaks, so we're looking at 12 ounces of meat here because we're making enough para toda la familia, for the whole family, right? So we added 2 tablespoons. We're gonna cook that in there, give it a little bit of sazon. Bay leaf there. So I'm going to add 2. And they're pretty little, so I'm going to add 3. If you have the big ones, just add 1 to 2. So there you go. Mix that in there. So see, it's sauteing down. There you go. Look how beautiful that is. And we are going to take out the bay leaves, because the bay leaves, especially if you're cooking for elderly people, the bay leaves really scratch your esophagus as it's going down. We really need to practice safety. So I usually like taking it out. It is wonderful. We're going to go ahead and turn that off, and we're going to serve it on a beautiful platter, which is another thing too. Make your food pretty. Okay, so we got half for him. Well, look at that. Steak picado. Nice, easy, very great dish. You can make the steak picado. For those who don't eat beef, make it with camarón, make it with shrimp, so it's that easy, quick and easy. The majority of the time was your prep, but don't forget to go to your local supermarkets. I highly recommend that you support your small family mom and pop supermarkets. Look for Goya Sazonador. Definitely for everything, for salads, for cooking, use Goya olive oil. This is one of the best olive oil. It is award winning. It has won many awards, and it's wonderful, from Spain, and as God intended. And we have bay leaves. So, and of course, let's not forget one of my favorites, tomato sauce, low sodium. Watch your figure. Thank you so much for joining me today. You can go ahead and go on HispanicLifestyle.com. Richard Sandoval is going to edit, make me look better, skinnier, probably younger. So I hope you still recognize me after all the editing he's going to do. And definitely join us for the Latina Conference 2020. I am Chef Rosie from Provecho Grill. Thank you so much for joining me. I love you guys.
Provecho Grill.
Provecho.
Yay. That looks yummy.
Hey, I want to thank our friend and 2020 Latina of Influence, Chef Rosie, for her cooking demonstration. Also, we have our next presentation coming in, but quickly we're going to bring on my friend and colleague once again, Jenny Marie. Jenny Marie, how are you?
I'm good. That looked really good. Smells good.
What happened, we moved our date, postponed our date. So Chef Rosie actually cooked that a couple of weeks ago for us here in the kitchens of Hispanic Lifestyle.
Nice.
And it was delicious. It was just all amazing. And we have the entire recipe and the segment on our website, HispanicLifestyle.com.
Awesome. Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got our next session ready to go, and that's our health session. And especially when we're talking about COVID-19, it's a community health update provided to us by our friends and Dr. Bantra over at IEHP. So here we go.
Hi, my name is Dr. Priya Batra. I'm an OBGYN physician, and I'm Senior Medical Director for Family and Community Health at Inland Empire Health Plan, or IEHP. We're a Medi-Cal nonprofit health plan for members that live in Riverside and San Bernardino counties.
Well, we're going to jump right into it and talk a little bit about the effects of COVID-19 on our region. And if you could share with me some of the things you're telling people in the community of how to deal with the effects of,
Could you hear?
And the result of COVID-19.
So I think IEHP is actually
So do you want me to talk
support
louder?
for community around COVID-19 in a couple of ways. First, obviously, we're a health plan, and so we cover all the testing and care needed for those affected by COVID-19 or who
Okay, I got to step away for a minute.
And so for that perspective,
Okay.
I think the health perspective, we really recommend
Stepping away
following
for a
public
minute.
health guidelines, social distancing, and getting tested if you're concerned about symptoms or if you've been in contact with someone else who is. So obviously we support that. I think what else is a little interesting is that we're also supporting a lot of the social needs and sort of the stress and anxiety that comes up around COVID-19.
Hey,
For example,
okay, I got to be back in
IHP
5
has been
minutes.
doing a lot around getting food and other resources to folks whose jobs may have been affected by COVID-19 or who are isolating and really shouldn't be leaving the house and need help with those things as well. And as far as sort of stress, there's a lot of anxiety, I think, related to COVID-19, not knowing where to go out. People may feel isolated from their traditional support. So if you're not supposed to be physically around your support network of friends and family, how do you really deal with that? And so along those lines, IEHP is actually providing a lot of our courses and support groups and health education programs virtually, so people can connect that way. And additionally, we, as always, cover mental health and behavioral health services to help get you through this time where you may be feeling more anxiety.
I only want to spend a little bit of time on this, but the mask, no mask, we live in the Inland Empire. It's hot. We're used to being outside. We're a very active community. Can you give me a little advice or insights of how I should interact with my family members and friends?
That's a great question. And as someone who's also trying to wear a mask, it is really hard in the summer, right, in Southern California to feel comfortable doing that. So I totally relate. I still think it is important when we're out and about doing things like shopping, areas where we're putting our essential workers at risk to wear a mask. Also, unfortunately, when we're outside for now. But I think the other thing to point out about being outside is that it's actually one of the safest places to be right now if you want to socially, responsibly hang out with your family and friends. So things like hiking, going to the beach, now that it's getting hotter, can be safe as long as you maintain distance and do wear a mask when you're close to folks. But, I think it is uncomfortable. We know it's difficult and challenging right now, but it's one of the best protections we have around COVID at this time.
So you're telling me that adult softball is socially responsible because we can do social distancing?
I mean, those types of technical questions, you'll really have to look to your public health guidelines or your public health agency for guidance on. I know that's a tough one. So as far as like sports that are more safe, I think running and biking solo or in a group where you are isolating with that group is a great idea right now. Hiking in groups that you're isolating with, like your friends and family, I think is a great idea. Team sports, I think we're going to have to wait to get more public health guidance on that specifically.
You're killing me, doctor. You're just killing me.
I don't know if you saw that in places where they are resuming team sports, what comes to mind is South Korea. They actually brought back baseball games, but in the stands, they don't have any spectators. They have stuffed animals. I don't know if you've seen those pictures online. But I think that's a creative way of getting the game.
I'm being selfish now because I play adult softball with the guys, and nobody comes out and watches our games anyway, so we'll never have a problem when it comes to
safe. You're safe and ready to go, it sounds like.
On a more serious subject, we are doing this for our Latina Conference, and of course we appreciate the support of IEHP. But talk a little bit about women's issues, women's health issues. We talked earlier about the fact that women, more often in my culture, the Latin culture, that they take care of everybody else in the household before they start taking care of themselves. So share a little insights of what we can do as a family unit to encourage the women in our lives to take better care of themselves.
Thank you so much for pointing that out. I think that is really true. We say that, honestly, women are the healthcare managers often of the household. And so they do tend to do organizing for health services around children, around their partners, other older family members that they may serve as the caregiver for. But I think the point that you made is really important, that women need to take care of their own health. And it's sort of that saying of when you're on an airplane, in the safety announcement, put your own mask on before you help someone next to you, right, with their oxygen mask. So you have to be in the best shape you can be in to take care of those around you. And I think specific to COVID, especially, something that we are really concerned about at IHP is that women may be putting off health screenings and things like that, preventive care around breast cancer screening, cervical cancer screening, managing any conditions they may have because of COVID. And so I think now is the time to really explore with your provider, if you are a woman who has any of these concerns or issues, to see if you can get back in for that care.
I want to leave with our final question, something that's concerning me and many of the colleagues that I talk to on the phone, and that is mental health. I mean, we've been isolated for a long time. We're still trying to do social distancing, which means we're doing a lot of these video conferencing calls. I don't know that closing the doors, the walls closing in on us, reducing stress is probably a major thing that we should be thinking about. Any suggestions, any insights of how to deal with reducing stress in the time of COVID-19?
It's a huge issue. It's a really huge issue. And I think we're feeling a lot of uncertainty and anxiety. So a couple of things I can recommend. One, it's important to, when you feel that these sort of stressors are getting the best of you, to reach out for help. So IHP, for example, we cover therapy, any type of mental health services, even just to sort of try it out for now. So that's always an option. Additionally, on our website and through our community resource centers, we're offering to anyone in the community, not just our members, podcasts and sessions you can online where you can learn how to meditate and breathe and relax. And there are actually tools that can help with this anxiety. It's not necessarily that folks are maybe suffering from depression or anxiety, but there's a lot of stress in this current time. And so we call it resilience, sort of building those coping skills that can help you deal with stress, not just from COVID-19, but also day-to-day stress with work and family. So those are resources I would recommend.
One of the things we really didn't talk about is telemedicine and how that's going, and IEHP's involvement with that. So your final thoughts, and then talk a little bit about telemedicine.
Telemedicine, I think, is a great resource. It's covered by IEHP. So if your provider offers telemedicine, you can definitely get those services. I think that what's been really interesting is that during COVID, obviously, telemedicine has really exploded in use and interest, both among providers and our members. So we are continuing to support that. And I think that telemedicine, going back to your earlier question about stress, I think telemedicine is actually great for counseling and therapy and those types of services, because it really lends itself well to this type of connection, sort of similar to what we're doing now, actually. So that's a really great point. And then just in terms of closing thoughts, I think at IHP, we're really trying to serve the health needs and also understand a lot of the social needs and the uncertainty that's coming with COVID-19. And so we're going to continue to provide support and resources in those areas.
Again, Doctor, thank you for your time. And I appreciate your support and your insights on these topics.
Thank you so much for having us. And I am really honored. IHP is really honored to be included in this conference. Thank you.
Well, that was my visit with the doctor over telemedicine. Again, I'm Richard Sandoval. I wanted to welcome you to, now I'll turn on the mic. I'm Richard Sandoval, and welcome again to Latina Conference 2020. Just like our event, we had an introduction of our Latinas of Influence, followed by a couple of presentations, panel discussions, and one of the things that probably people don't know is the fact that I interviewed 30 of the 31 of our Latinas of Influence this year. And we did that over Zoom. And I really enjoyed my time speaking with these ladies, them sharing their stories. And I know the first video that we played you was really an introduction. And as a result of interviewing 31 Latinas of influence, I want to tell you that we're going to That's how much content that we received, is that we're going to start this Conversations with Latinas of Influence. Now, I have our next panel discussion, which is basically a series of sound bites from our Latinas of Influence in the business category. So I would like to share that with you right now.
Welcome to this very special digital presentation by Hispanic Lifestyle, Latina Conference 2020, Connecting Latinas of Influence. We are proud to have the sponsored support of Wells Fargo Bank, Riverside County Economic Development Agency, Coca-Cola, the Small Business Development Corporation of Orange County, Inland Empire Health Plan, and Goya Foods. Our program and the complete listing of Hispanic Lifestyles 2020 Latinas of Influence can be found on our website, HispanicLifestyle.com. When you post on social media, please use the hashtag Latina Conference 2020.
Hi, my name is Claudia Vasquez, and I was originally born in California, but when I was 1 year old, I was brought back to Mexico. So I technically grew up in Mexico until my early 20s. When I came back to the United States, I pursued a bachelor's degree. So it was until later in my 20s that I enrolled into my first job opportunity at a Fortune 500 company. I've always worked for the insurance industry, starting at State Farm, then moving on to Unum, Cigna, and currently at Prudential. Throughout the different changes, I have been escalating the corporate ladder and have received numerous opportunities to grow and mobilize within these different companies. So in the community space, I have done English as a second language classes. I have prepared individuals to obtain their citizenship examination. I worked in the 2000 census, knocking at doors to make sure that the Hispanic or, individuals were counted and that they understood the importance of, participating in the census. And I have been doing different type of activities within the community in regards to focusing on middle school children and going to schools and sharing my story and talking to them about being an English as a second language learner and having still an accent and having no role models really within my family. I'm a first generation to graduate from an educational perspective, and just sharing with them that they're not alone, that there are obstacles that we're going to face, but it's really up to each one of us to have that drive and to continue to move forward. And when I tell them that I didn't graduate until I was 30 and I had my first child 6 weeks before, I always get, a surprise face, but it doesn't matter how old you are. You just have to continue to move forward. So I look for different type of opportunities outside. Inside of the organizations, I have always been an advocate. I've been an ambassador and I've been a mobilizer of the different business research groups within our organizations. I have led at a national level our workforce optimization, where I was in charge of creating the pipeline within different universities to offer jobs to the Hispanic population to enter the insurance world, because insurance is not necessarily a career path that people know that it's available. It really provides you that professional opportunity, and especially to be able to grow within a corporation if you wish to do so. And most recently with Prudential, I was the national leader of the BRG, and I was able to grow the membership within the company from 400 employees to 1,000 employees. And with that, we provide different type of professional development programs. We also look for opportunities to impact the community. And I most recently brought the Red Shoe movement into our organization, and I was able to participate in a global movement where we are creating that awareness of women equality, gender equality, and opportunities for women. And I went to Mexico City to one of our offices to ring the bell for in March during the International Women's Year or Month.
Hello, my name is Denise Montalvan. I'm VP of Multicultural Communications at Sino Group, but I'm also founder and director of my nonprofit that goes by the name of the Orphaned Earring. My career and the charity kind of grew at the same time. I founded the Orphaned Earring when I just graduated, and I could see it grow, but at the same time, my career was growing as well. So from Ketchum, I had an internship there, and then got promoted to the next level. Then I moved to different agencies. I saw that it was kind of like mutual. It was mutual benefiting my career and the organization, because I had people come and say, oh, I love what you do, and I'm a reporter from Univision, and I'm a reporter from Telemundo, and they would interview me for the Orphaned Earring, and then I would say, hey, by the way, I do PR, and let me pitch you. So it was this, I now live in a blended world where my media contacts and lots of companies know who I am because of the Orphaned Earring, but also know that I do PR, and I pitch them a client someday or sometime. So I take pride in people knowing me as the Orphaned Earring girl. And so it's been mutually beneficial. One thing that I also look back and I think was silly is that at the beginning I thought, just because I'm Latina, I don't want to be pigeonholed and only doing Latino marketing and Latino outreach. And then I realized, well, it's an expertise. It's what I live. It's what I'm good at. So it's not about I learned it wasn't about being pigeonholed. It was more about, I need to understand and accept my own culture, my own ways, my own everything, and leverage that for the world. My career helped me get a sense of pride, sense of orgullo of who I am, because who I am helps me speak to my community, to my people, and help brands speak to them too.
Hello, my name is Frances Moreno, and I work with Vaco LLC. I'm the Senior Managing Partner for Los Angeles, Denver, and Seattle markets, and a regional partner for the organization. We're a talent solutions firm that specializes in technology and accounting for both full-time placements and special projects. I've been in Los Angeles for about 21 years. I came here in 1999. I'm originally born and raised in San Diego and also lived in Sacramento. But as far as Los Angeles, building a book of business, people think it's a very large city, and it is, but you need repeat business. So it's, treating your clients well, treating the candidates you work with. And my business being a talent solutions firm, we represent candidates to our clients, and we help clients with finding the right fit for their hiring needs. So it's about repeat business. We don't burn through relationships. We value them tremendously. And so that's what keeps any business going, is consistency.
Hello, my name is Gloria Burton, and I'm an advisor with the Supplier Diversity and Development Team at Southern California Edison. And what I do is we work with small and diverse business enterprises. Working at ARCO, as I indicated, was 15 years with ARCO, but ARCO got bought out by BP, which is known as British Petroleum. And so the opportunity came up where they were offering a package. I agreed to take the package. It allowed me to take off a full year. Yes, a full year. And I was able to spend a lot of time with the family. My kids were quite young at the time, but I was able to have dinner prepared for them, pick them up from school, just the things a typical kid would like for their mom to do rather than working a full 8-hour day. So that was wonderful for me. They greatly appreciate it. And then after taking a year off, I felt it was time for me to return back to work. An opportunity came up at Edison. And so I applied for the position. Obviously, I got accepted, got the position. Really, really excited within the supply management area, an area that I was quite familiar with. So it just gave me an opportunity to just kind of slide right on in and be able to, support all the efforts, sourcing efforts that came about and everything along supply diversity. I'm sorry, not supply diversity, but supply chain. And then upon working in supply chain, there was another opportunity to apply to work for supply diversity. And so after 10 years, should I say maybe 12 years working in supply chain, I thought, I needed a little change. And so there was an opportunity again to apply for a position in supply diversity. I did apply. Obviously, I got it, and it was just a great match. Having previous supply chain experience was very helpful for me in allowing me to easily integrate within the supplier diversity space. Although there's still a lot for me to learn, I'm really enjoying just working with my colleagues in supplier diversity. Such a great team.
Hello, my name is Hazel Ortega, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have started nearly a dozen businesses that have become multi-million-dollar enterprises. And my passion is helping people improve the quality of their lives. I grew up in downtown Los Angeles on welfare, and it was a dangerous neighborhood, lots of drive-bys almost daily. I've lost best friends and family members to gang violence, and both my parents spent decades in prison. In spite of that, I was able to overcome those challenges and become an educational psychologist. And now I wrote a book on my journey of that, from bounce checks to private jets. I didn't even graduate high school. Education was not a priority. Overcoming your neighborhood and surviving, that was the priority. So I didn't graduate from high school, and I got a job working at a lawyer's office right after high school. And the lawyer's office that I worked for was a workers' compensation law firm. So they represent people who are injured on the job. Part of those benefits when you're injured on the job is vocational training. If you lose your job, you can go back to school and learn something different, and then hopefully have a better future and a job where you won't re-injure yourself. Well, ironically, I was working at that law firm when I became an injured worker. I was 26 years old, and I didn't even have a high school diploma. And I got carpal tunnel, which is nerve damage in my wrist, my elbow, and my neck. And the doctor told me I couldn't do that job anymore, and that I should go back to school. I went back to school. I earned my high school diploma at 30 years old. I already had 3 kids, and I was married. So I worked from 9 to 5 every day, and then in the evening, 7 to 10, I went to school. And on Saturdays from 8 to 5, and on Sundays from 10 to 2. So I became an educational psychologist at 36. I started my first business in my garage, and now we're the #1 counseling center for injured workers in California. And what we do is we help them figure out what career to go into after being injured in a restaurant, as a construction worker, as a secretary. Any occupation can become hazardous to your health. So we can help anybody come up with new career objectives.
My name is Marcie Perez. I am the founder and principal of Agency M Media. I am a marketing, communications, and public relations professional. And it's been almost 20 years. I absolutely love what I do. I am grateful that I get to show up every day and provide the counsel that I do for my clients and the partnership. So thank you so much, clients, for having faith in me to serve as your partner. In terms of what I do in areas of expertise, there's really three areas that I focus on right now. Number one, it's implementation of corporate social responsibility and philanthropy programs for my for-profit clients, and it's implementation of social impact initiatives for my nonprofit clients. A lot of times that entails community-based outreach or digital organizing, and oftentimes through a lens of diversity and inclusion. And lastly, it is developing and managing and implementing public awareness, public service campaigns, public awareness campaigns for the city and county of Los Angeles. Oftentimes, if there's any element of empowerment, financial empowerment or anti-poverty initiatives, those are the programs that I tend to gravitate toward. I'm going to bring up this question of what makes Agency M Media unique. And I bring it up because I get asked that question all the time. And so it really is, it's the way I set up Agency M Media. For the last 5 years, we have been working virtually and remotely. And that's a skill set that organizations and companies and brands want to see right now. They want to rely on teams that know how to, take the goal and drive it through to the finish line. So it's something that we already do here at Agency M Media. And so secondly, in terms of the teams that I curate for specific client needs, that's the way I operate. I bring in professionals that I tap in from my network, not just here in LA and California, but in other states as well, because of the background that I have. And so I bring professionals to my team that already speak the language of the clients. They come from those backgrounds, they come from those networks, from those industries. So literally we can dive right in, plug and play. A lot of us are senior level professionals, but we have that boutique service. So you get, high touch engagement with the teams that I put together. Lastly, I'm grateful that a little more than 90% of my business is word of mouth. And so as a small business, Latina female owner, it is all about relationships and reputation. So very pleased to do what I do for my clients. And again, thank you for the support of Agency M Media for the last 5 years.
My name is Monica Viramontes, and I am an interior designer. I've chosen to live my life as an interior designer because I absolutely love the fact that design is a visual expression of who we are. And I started my own company a few years ago, Evolving by Design. We are a meaningful interior design studio that creates designs based on our natural behavior. My educational training and formal training is in commercial architecture. It's commercial interior architecture, and I have done plenty of work with homeowners. So I would say that my niche would be maybe moody executives. That would be my niche. Whether you're a homeowner or a business owner, if you're an executive, that is the type of person I want to work with. During this time, I did take the time to rebrand. It's where the name change came in. And we rebranded to have a more of a presence online so that people felt comfortable visiting my website and felt comfortable navigating through the different offerings, because we weren't going to be able to have a one-on-one in-person meeting. And so currently what I have is online is I created a design guide, simple steps for people to use to help them redesign their space for virtual meetings so that they feel more comfortable and confident in showing up to their meetings since they don't have their office space anymore.
Hello, my name is Sandy Lou Guerrero of Life's Trace Coaching. I am a transformational business and life coach, and I work with both men and women who have big goals and want to take their life onto a new level. So I support them in working through what's getting in the way, gaining clarity, accountability, a little kick in the booty to make sure they make it happen. And also, just setting goals, clear goals, and executing them. Among that, I also have my Facebook Live show. We've been going for 3 years already, Transform Your Life with Sandy, Lou, and Friends. And recently launched my production, which right now we're a little bit on a standstill, called Life Warrior Productions. COVID pandemic experience we're all experiencing, it's important that we also step back and figure out how we're going to move forward. And one of them right now that's a big challenge for a lot of people is mental health. So we got to make sure that we are mentally in a good place. So the assumption is you're a coach and you have all this experience and you've gone through all these different things. You're okay and you're going to, like it doesn't affect you, but it does. I mean, we're all going through something that's very not expected and different. But I think that once we are in a space where we take care of ourselves, we gotta reach out to other people. So I know for me, I reach out to, since I have my show, I have a lot of friends and a lot of people that are business owners, entrepreneurs, and some of them are on Novel, some of them are on National Latina Businesswomen IE or LA or just national. I mean, they're everywhere. And talk to different ones, just checking in with them. How are you doing? How can I support you? Giving them little, different ideas of what they can do with their business or how they can get through the financial hurdles that we're all facing in one way or another. How ideas of reinvention, because we got to reinvent ourselves. So I think that it's really important at this time more than ever that to share our knowledge, our wisdom, and our experience. Especially, I think sometimes when we're having a hard time. So if you're having a hard time, one saying that I learned was, when in doubt, focus out, which means if I'm in doubt or I'm not feeling too well, whatever, focus out, be of service, support other people. So that is what I really already do, but now it's even more purposeful and even more intentional to be able to be there and be a source of support and guidance and wisdom. Because sometimes when we're in it, you don't see straight and you don't see the bigger picture and you don't see the gold nugget. So it helps us to have someone to speak with that could be objective and just really listens.
Hello, my name is Teresa Razzo, and I am the owner of Cambalache Grill in Fountain Valley and Villa Roma in Laguna Hills, both Argentine and Italian cuisine restaurants. And I'm also a mother, a wife, a daughter, a community leader, and a woman. So I do a lot. What I do is basically, my restaurants are my passion, but basically my passion is using my restaurants as a vehicle to support and be out in the community. COVID-19 was a big slap on the face for many of us. It was sometimes we even think about it and it's so surreal. It's like, are we living this, in 2020? I would have thought of other things that could have altered the business, but never thought a pandemic was going to do this. But, when it struck us and we had to close down that night and say, okay, what are we going to do tomorrow? Because it's very different from today to tomorrow. And you had no time to prepare. You had nothing. You had to move with the flow. And, my staff, some of my staff is like, we'll figure this out. We'll have to just pivot. We'll take tonight and we'll talk tomorrow morning and we'll just pivot. So having that support was very important. But then coming home and me and Leo talking about it, and he's like, what are we going to do? I'm like, you know what? We're just going to do what we've always done best. And that is, take faith over fear and values over business. I said, I don't know the ending story of our businesses, but I know we will continue to cook. And we will continue to cook not only to satisfy the palate, but to satisfy the soul. We will continue to support our community. We will continue to support our staff. We will continue to do what we need to do. And at the end, if we shut down, then we shut down the right way with the front doors and close it correctly. And that's the approach that we took it. And we took it with faith, and we took it with positiveness. Something good has to come out of this. And like I told Leo, I said, you know what? There's two major things here. First of all, I don't think God has taken us this far to just drop us off. There's no way. There's no way after our journey of over 20 years to just leave us here and close our doors. There's something more. There's something bigger. And our purpose is the community. And this is when the community needs our doors to be open and our hearts to be open more. So we're not going to give up. We're either, I don't know the end of how the business will survive or not, but we're not going to give up, and we're going to put in a big fight because it's when the community needs us the most. And that's what we've done. And we've had so many blessings. The community is outpouring support that we've been able to help shelters, youth shelters, homeless shelters, families in need. It's just been outpouring the support. So, and right now it's just about surviving. It's not about business. It's values before business. And the purpose here is to not leave anybody behind that we can for as long as we can.
Good afternoon. My name is Yvonne Flores, and I am a real estate broker. I also run a property management company for Westcliff Properties. And we also have a live scan, a fingerprinting business, and notary business. So I like to tell everybody that my business is really a boutique business that offers a little bit more than real estate services. And we really do everything that we do with a lot of heart and passion here. So I've been doing this for a couple of years now. We are located in downtown Santa Ana, in particular in the artist district of downtown, artist village of downtown Santa Ana. And when I first got here, everybody started to ask, well, isn't this supposed to be for artists? Isn't this supposed to be an artist village? What are you doing here? You're, a realtor. So a couple of years back, we ran Gallery 211. My daughter, Alyssa, and I, and my whole family, we opened up our home and we ran a gallery for 3.5 years, and we promoted the local artists and hosted art shows here every single month for 3.5 years. And we did really fantastic. It was a beautiful family project, and a lot of artists got to showcase their art, got to sell their art. Their families got to come to see their sons or daughters or nieces or nephews showcase their art, and to see the local Santaneros and the pride and joy that they had to see their family members' art up in a gallery was just an amazing experience. Unfortunately, the best thing that we did was do a really great job, and we started to have about 1,200 people come through our doors in a 5-hour window. And as you can see in the back here, this is the office, which used to be the gallery, and it was just a lot of people for 5 hours. I couldn't encompass more people in this small space, so we had to close the gallery.
Hello, everybody. I'm checking out the audio now. Again, I'm Richard Sandoval with Hispanic Lifestyle, Latina Conference 2020. And I want to thank everybody for continuing to support us here Now I'm live on camera. Thank you to our panelists that participated on our business segment that we had here. We have two more segments left. We have our community education panel, as well as our Latinas in the media. So without further ado, let's get right into our community panel.
Welcome to this very special digital presentation by Hispanic Lifestyle, Latina Conference 2020, Connecting Latinas of Influence. We are proud to have the sponsored support of Wells Fargo Bank, Riverside County Economic Development Agency, Coca-Cola, the Small Business Development Corporation of Orange County, Inland Empire Health Plan, and Goya Foods. Our program and the complete listing of Hispanic Lifestyles 2020 Latinas of Influence can be found on our website, HispanicLifestyle.com. When you post on social media, please use the hashtag Latina Conference 2020.
My name is Catherine Garces. I'm an activist representing my Latino community. As a community, whether you are Latino or you are any race or any community, when you begin with a dream, I was taught that there's so many things that are going to be lashed at you. Nobody's going to believe. But I think that if you believe it in your heart and that passion that will drive you to take that business to another level, no one can take that away from you. You know, I had an interview with someone in a huge corporate position, and I was competing against this position years ago. And the man that did the interview for me at the end said to me, you know, Catherine, there's still a lot of things you need to learn about this position, but there's something that I cannot teach you, and that's your passion. And that's your total heart that you're giving when you're talking to me, that you study this position, you study what you came for, you know you're prepared. And you may not know a lot of things that I need you to know for this position, but because of your passion and the fact that you don't say no, and the fact that you're gonna fight and be there and try to make this project fulfill, I think you're the right person for this project. So to me, that linked in my head all the advice that I was getting when I was growing up. You know, my father led a very successful business, importing, exporting, you know, and I learned from him too. When things went wrong, I saw him and I'm going, oh my gosh, you know, there's this shipment going to 3 different countries, and all of a sudden he has to pick the phone and tell his clients it's not going. You know, my father would always say, no le pares bola, means pay no mind, we got this. Don't think about what happened in the tragedy, think about the solution. If you get stuck in the tragedy, you're not going to find a solution because you're still in a negative, you're selling in a negative situation.
Hi, my name is Dr. Christina Granillo. I work for UC Riverside School of Medicine. I'm the director of the Academic Success Programs. So what does that mean? That means that I help our medical students at UC Riverside become future doctors. So I work a lot of one-on-ones, kind of as a learning specialist. I help our students to meet each and every goal, whether it's in their coursework or preparing for their boards. I'm blessed, I'm lucky to get to do the job I do, to work at UC Riverside. Like I said, it was coming home to work there and to have such a wonderful family. And I really, really thank my students, because in this upside down time with COVID, people ask me, how do you do it? I've been back-to-back meetings, sometimes 10 to 13 student appointments a day, right? One-to-one Zoom back, 30 minutes. But they've kept life normal for me, because for us, it's no different. We're right in the thick of it. We're dedicated. I have the best job working with the students because everyone's different and we get to laugh, and it's super sad to not have graduation, to be able to, after going through this journey with them, to not be able to hug them and meet their parents and do things traditionally. So I look forward to hopefully 2021, where we'll be able to have things back to be able to really celebrate those opportunities. So I thank my husband for being able to allow the work that we do at the School of Medicine to really be highlighted, because it's, if nothing else, COVID has shown across the country that the physician shortage is dire, and here in the Inland Empire in particular. So you see our School of Medicine is just part of that one little piece of that process, right? We need more, obviously, nurses and PAs, and right, this crisis has shown us exactly what we need. And I'm just really happy and blessed to be part of that mission.
Hello, my name is Denise Campos, and I'm a public affairs manager at SoCal Gas. SoCal Gas is a huge company, so to be a Latina getting your foot in the door in the corporate side and to learn about energy is exciting, and it's a great opportunity. We are a large company that serves 22 million customers and provides natural gas across 6 million meters. So for me, it's been a huge learning curve about what fuels our infrastructure, anything from homes and businesses, and where we even get electricity from, which is mainly from natural gas. And it's also a shifting time, just in general in the energy industry. California is such a progressive state, and I think we're always looking for ways to improve air quality and to make our environment better. And there's a lot of ways to go around doing that. So working for an industry such as natural gas, it's exciting that we're in a time where we're now investing in renewable gas. And few people know about this, and I won't get into the details, but it's super cool that we can capture the waste, the methane from landfills and from dairy farms, which create a ton of greenhouse gas emissions, and put that methane into our pipelines so that the gas we're using is cleaner. And that way people can still continue to cook with gas and heat their homes and keep it affordable and it's abundant. So it's an interesting time to be at the table when we're having these conversations about energy, about the environment, and to be able to have a perspective, but from the community or from folks that like using gas and want to keep it around. Meanwhile, we're also following legislation, whether it's statewide or local, of cities or the state that want to get rid of gas. So it's an interesting time, definitely, to be at the table talking about energy.
My name is Laura Farber, and I'm an attorney at the law firm of Hahn & Hahn. I have been there for most of my career. And this is a firm that's been around a long time. We are, I'm proud to say, a certified woman and minority-owned firm, which only happened over the last several years. It happened organically. I'm an employment lawyer, and I represent both employers and employees in a variety of contexts. And I also do an eclectic mix of civil litigation. So when I have to go to court, I do, but not always. Many times we can resolve matters. I have loved being an attorney, and I've done it, as I said, for I don't want to say exactly how many years, but quite a few years. And before that, I went to Georgetown Law School and UCLA undergrad. I was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and came here to this country with my parents. We had to leave. Things were really bad in Argentina. And they left everyone and everything they knew to start a new life here with nothing. They came with nothing, and thank goodness they did, because one thing they believed in strongly was education, and they were able to make sure that we all got that. And here I am. Strong, driven women in my family who never told me that there were limits on what I could achieve or accomplish. We didn't have any lawyers in the family except my grandfather in Argentina, but that was a different time and a different approach and a different system. Everybody else was science, very into science. And my parents both, but mostly my mother, have always stood behind anything I wanted to accomplish. They never said to me, no, I don't think that's within your reach, or no, you shouldn't try that, or no, you shouldn't explore that. And I am convinced that that has made a huge difference in my life. As I've sought out other mentors, of course, but the core of what drove me was my grandmother and my mother. And I hope to do the same for both of my kids.
My name is Maria Castro. I am the Regional External Affairs Manager with Comcast in the Greater Chicago region. External affairs is just what I call a fancy word for community investment. And at Comcast, we do have service around the country, but here in the greater Chicago region, which I think is the best region of all, it is extremely important for us to be not just a part of the community, but where we live, we play, we work. It's important for us to really be out there and find out what the needs are in our community. So I'll give you an example. We do a tremendous amount of grant giving to our community partners here. Is usually very underprivileged and very, impoverished areas of Chicago, which there are many, even in the south suburbs and the northern suburbs and things like that. But we also give away scholarships. And so I'm happy to say that this year we do have 70 scholarship winners that will be receiving $2,500 each. And all of them are going on to great universities and colleges and are really, we call it leaders and achievers. So what we ask them to be is a leader and an achiever in their schools and communities. And that's really important to us because there's so many people out there that actually are a 5.0, a 4.0, and they get all of the really great scholarships, right? But in this case, these are the kids who may be a 3.0, and that's the best that they can do. But they are leaders and they are achieving things in their communities and schools. And those are the ones that we're looking for. So I think that the word leaders and achievers really says it, quite frankly, great. And in terms of our grants, we, of course, are a technology company. So we really are trying to bridge that digital divide. And I could not be more proud than I am right now of the things that we're doing within the community to keep these families together and bridge that digital divide. That has been a game changer for all of the people that live in our areas, because it is so important right now with this sheltering in place that kids are able to connect, that families who are working from home are able to connect. And so it's at times like this where you look at what your company is doing and you're not just talking the talk, but you're walking the walk.
Hello, my name is Maria Hall. I'm a lawyer. I've been a lawyer for about 16, 17 years, and I work for myself. I also am the director of the Los Angeles Incubator Consortium, which is a legal incubator to help new solo lawyers work within their own community. If you feel like being a lawyer is something that you could be good at, do it. It has been a great equalizer for me. Having my law license has been the biggest confidence boost, because no matter how smart you are, no matter what education you have, that you're smart, sometimes you still feel the world around you is, you kind of feel an imposter syndrome, like maybe I'm really not good enough to be the one making the really important decisions in this country or in my community. So I think one thing that a law license did for me, and I know it could do for others, is it makes you on the same level as somebody else who went to Harvard, who had all of the privileges given to them. Suddenly you're on the same, they have to argue against you if they're your opposing counsel. They have to call you back. It doesn't matter where you grew up. It's a great equalizer. It's also a great tool for access to influential people, and it's a great tool to have power and assert your own conscience out into the community and have influence on other people who have power.
Hello, my name is Nora Guerra. I'm an affordable lending manager for Freddie Mac, one of the housing GSEs in America. And what I do is I typically travel the West and most of the country, and I present on affordable lending statistics, data, loan programs to help homebuyers get into housing, especially affordable housing. I think it's important that we educate our real estate professionals on minority home buying. The power of the minority dollar in our economy is extremely important, especially when it comes to first-time home buyers. What I'm truly passionate about Freddie Mac is that we have so much data and information, and we've really dug deep into minorities, African-American minority, the Latino home buyer, which by 2025 will be the majority of United States household versus the minority and our Asian American home buyers. We tend to dive in deep on their challenges to help educate their communities and real estate professionals within that community to be able to support them and help them get into homes.
I'm Selena Sagoon. I'm an attorney and also a community activist. I've been practicing in the Inland Empire since 2002. And one of my main activities is alerting and informing the community against immigration fraud, which is a problem that's very, very prevalent with the immigrant community. And I also help organize and bring issues to the forefront, issues that come close to home. Again, for example, like tax fraud and other areas where the community is very easily taken advantage of. And I've been doing that for years, and it's become a great part of my life. My most recent project as an attorney in the city of Riverside dealt with organizing the community against a fellow attorney that was actually extorting the community. He is now doing 22 years in prison as a result of us organizing and bringing the case to the attention of the district attorney. We had protests outside his office. I was guiding the community so that they would protest in a legal way, but I also tried to bring to everybody's attention the conduct of this attorney so that other businesses that were being targeted could be aware of their rights and they can protect themselves when it came to conduct such as the conduct that was being engaged in by this attorney. Most, if not all, of the victims that we helped organize were Hispanic. All were of immigrant origin. And so for me, these are the issues that are very important, that the community understand that they have rights, that they can stand up for themselves. And really this result of having both the attorney and his co-conspirator both in prison right now are a product of the organization that we were able to engage in with the community.
My name is Susana Mendoza. I am the Illinois State Controller. I'm a proud Latina. My parents are both immigrants from Mexico. My father passed away 25 years ago, but my mom, thankfully, is still very much with us. I am very proud to come from the heritage that I do, to be a strong Latina here in Illinois, and be, frankly, the first Latina or Latino ever elected to statewide office on the Democratic ticket. Was pretty cool. Prior to that, I was the first woman ever elected Chicago City Clerk in the city of Chicago, obviously, the second largest office outside of the mayor's office. And when I was elected to the state legislature back in 2001, at that time, I was the youngest member in that chamber. So all of those things have led me to where I am today as the state controller, the person responsible for managing the state's finances. And if any of you have been keeping track of what's been happening in Illinois, from the moment I took office in 2016 in December, I walked into the worst fiscal crisis in our state's history. It was my job to manage our state successfully through that. We had done that, but unfortunately now with the coronavirus pandemic, it has certainly kicked our state backwards from a financial perspective, which is the same that could be said for all 50 states. But if there's any silver lining is that I have a lot of experience in dealing with financial crisis. And thankfully, I think I'm at the right place at the right time to hopefully get our state through this crisis as well. Afraid to fail. And when you fail, because we all do, get over it. Learn from it. Because failure doesn't define you, it refines you. And you'll never achieve great things if you're afraid to fail. I say this all the time to anyone who will listen because I think it's perhaps the greatest differentiator between me and someone who doesn't go for it, is that my entire life I've not been afraid to fail, and I've been anything but risk averse. I absolutely believe in taking risks. I absolutely believe in trying. And, if you don't win this time, that's okay. At least you're not going to live the rest of your life wondering what would have happened if you had tried. And so I would give that advice, I especially give it to people who are considering running for office, if they're hemming and hawing. I tell them, don't be afraid to fail. That's why people choose not to run for office, because ultimately they're afraid to put themselves out there and to fail. And I think a greater failure is them wanting to do something and not trying.
As you know, I work for the U.S. Small Business Administration, Orange County, Inland Empire District Office. We are located in Santa Ana, and we service 3 counties, Orange County, San Bernardino, and Riverside. And these days of the pandemic, and we are providing services to the people that call us sometimes from across the country, from LA, from Las Vegas, from Florida, from Michigan, from Washington State. People just pick up our numbers, our telephone numbers, and they call us and they ask questions. So thank you very much. My daily job consists of promoting the programs and services of the SBA, which consists of counseling and training, access to capital, government contracting, and also talking about the disaster assistance, which is the area that has moved to the forefront during the last few months. And we are spending a lot of our time, like maybe 90% of our time, handling and introducing these programs to the business owners. As you probably know and you have heard about, we have 2 disaster loan programs. Actually, there are 4, but 2 of them are the most important ones that we are talking about, and that is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, the Paycheck Protection Loan Program, and then there is the, I'm sorry about this, and then there is the Bridge Loan Program and the Debt Relief Program. But mostly we're spending a lot of time with the EIDL and the Paycheck Protection Loan Program. That is what I'm doing right now, but mostly what I do most of the time, as you know, Richard, I go out and I give presentations about the SBA programs and services and about how to utilize them, how to take advantage of these programs that have been paid for by the U.S. Small Business Administration, and they are free to the public. So I do a lot of public speaking engagements, and in the last few weeks, I have done a lot of Zoom conferences to talk about our programs, the disaster loan programs, mostly in Spanish and in English.
I'm getting ready to go live again.
To inform the community about these programs.
What's the matter? Again, want to thank our Latinas of Influence who participated in our community, educating our community panel. I'm Richard Sandoval. I'm with Hispanic Lifestyle, like I forgot who I was. And you are right in the middle of our streaming. We have 1 segment left. Then we plan to do a little networking. So if you would like to be invited to a kind of a vendor highlight, and then we're going to reconnect with some of our past Latinas of Influence. And I'm going to now invite Jenny Marie. Jenny Marie, you have your dog?
I do.
What is the name of your dog, and what exactly is your dog wearing?
My dog is wearing a beautiful face mask that I got from Texas. Camilla, she sells the mask. I just love them, so I bought like so many. But my dog is there. Yep, with a little bit of this or that, homemade doggy treats.
This or that. Okay, we're going to hear more about that later after our next segment, and which happens to do with Latinas in the media. But we want to invite remind some of our vendors, as we have at our Latina Conference. We usually have exhibitors. We have vendors. So that's one of the big things that we're missing, but we want to incorporate them. So, and maybe we'll hand out a door prize or 2 when we go live after the next segment. So I would like to invite everybody to stay tuned for our final segment, which is Latinas in the Media, and you'll enjoy it right now.
Welcome to this very special digital presentation by Hispanic Lifestyle, Latina Conference 2020, Connecting Latinas of Influence. We are proud to have the sponsored support of Wells Fargo Bank, Riverside County Economic Development Agency, Coca-Cola, the Small Business Development Corporation of Orange County, Inland Empire Health Plan, and Goya Foods. Our program and the complete listing of Hispanic Lifestyles 2020 Latinas of Influence can be found on our website, HispanicLifestyle.com. When you post on social media, please use the hashtag Latina Conference 2020.
Hello, my name is Gloria Burton. Right now, I work as a product and process specialist for Fiat Chrysler Automobiles. I've been in the automotive industry about 8 years, and I've been in manufacturing in general for a total of 10 years. And in my free time, I'm a freelance composer and musician. We have to start a little bit with the music first, because I've been playing the piano since I was 6 years old. And I thought that at some point I'd want a career in it, but at the same time, I wasn't really convinced that that would be a very stable career. And so I was also interested in the medical field, and I decided to try to go that way. Well, I did get a scholarship to Wayne State University, and I was working part-time in the laboratory there. And then there were some family issues where I had to move. When I moved, I transferred to Jacksonville State, but it just didn't have the same atmosphere. And I was in the molecular biology program, but I just didn't like it. It was too much of a change. So since I had a scholarship in music, I decided to just go ahead and get my first two degrees, to be clear, in that. And then I started working in manufacturing because this was right around 2008 when there was the economic downturn and there weren't a lot of jobs. And I was actually inspired by an engineer named Carlos Garcia, because he would keep giving me engineering projects, even though I wasn't an actual engineer at the time. And he just really trusted me to do it. He thought that I could really pull that kind of thing off. And then after that, I became interested in it. And I ultimately ended up leaving that job to go back to school for engineering. And here I am.
Hello, my name is Lou Guerrero, and I am a children's book author. I write children's books about children with special needs and about the Latino community. I'm also a nonprofit owner. I founded a nonprofit called Advancing Latinas into Leadership, helping high school Latinas prepare for their life after high school. And I'm also in the process of working on an advocacy training for parents with children with special needs and helping them understand their rights under the IDEA federal law. First job after graduating college was working with children with special needs, and being in their homes, I learned a lot from the family, how the disadvantages they have and unawareness that they had. So it kind of inspired me. So when I went off to grad school, I did my thesis on how prepared teachers are to work with children with special needs. And I interviewed as well parents. And through my studies, I learned that a lot of Latino families don't know about their rights, and it kind of touched my heart. And so it made me want to help them. But it also was interesting is I never thought about being a children's book author. It just kind of fell in. As I was interviewing teachers and visiting these schools, I also saw that children didn't know about their peers. They were either making fun of them or curious, asking questions. So I published my first book called How Emily and Eli Became Friends. And that's actually based on a true story of Emily being a mixture of my students and Eli being this curious student who didn't know about having autism. And one book led to 2, 3, 4, and here we are, we got 13 books. And I just kind of fell into it, and it just turned into a passion that turned into a business.
My name is Naiva Reynoso. I'm a journalist, I'm a producer, a host, I'm an entrepreneur, an author, and a mom. And my career started many, many years ago in the late 90s. As an intern when I was at UCLA, I got an internship at Univision, and that's where my love for journalism and for telling stories about and for my community blossomed. I started working as a reporter in Channel 22, which is a local LA TV station. But then I got the urge to expand my horizons and broaden my wings. So then I decided to go to Phoenix, Arizona, where I was offered an opportunity to work for an English and Spanish TV station at the same time, which was KTVK. And I was there for 2 years. That's where I won one of my Emmys. And 2 AP awards for doing stories on immigration and also about mental health. Then after that, I wanted to try something different. So I went to Denver, Colorado, where I was a fill-in anchor and a reporter for WB2 News, which was an all-English TV station. So I got a little bit of taste of both the English market and the Spanish market. When I had my daughter, I decided it was time to come back to Los Angeles so I could be close to my family and friends. And here I got the opportunity to work as a freelance journalist and reporter and correspondent for many outlets, including Univision, Azteca America. I even went back to Channel 22 to host a show called Al Filo de la Noticia. I also was working for CNN Español, for Reels channel. I was working for a while for Larry King's Aura TV and also for an international news channel called France 24, covering the elections and many happenings here in Southern California. I also worked with Belle Hernandez, who you know pretty well. She's also been an amazing icon for women in media. And her and I created the Trend Talk, where we also co-hosted and co-executive produced along with her husband. And that was a show where we highlight Latinas in different areas. I also created with Belle Hernandez Latina Fest, which is a huge festival celebrating all things Latina. It's a yearly festival where we allow women-owned businesses to show their products and to meet new customers and to engage with each other and share resources. And that's a festival that happens once a year in downtown at La Plaza de Cultura y Artes, where over 2,500 women gather. Now with COVID, things are pivoting and transitioning, so we're figuring that out. But I also started another entrepreneurial endeavor, which was my own publishing company called Con Todo Press, where I use all my knowledge and skills that I learned as a reporter to highlight people in my community, but for a younger audience. So I do children's books that highlight Latino leaders in different areas. So my books include people like Sonia Sotomayor, Selena, Carlos Santana, for example, Jose Hernandez, who was an astronaut that went into space, but he started as a farm worker, Cesar Chavez, Dolores Huerta. And that's my passion right now, where I really like to tell stories, and I really like for the youngest of audiences and the young generation to feel a sense of pride when they read about the Latino leaders in their community, because if they see it, they can believe it and they can achieve it.
My name is Sarah Guerrero, and I am the founding artistic director of Breath of Fire Latina Theater Ensemble. I am also a freelance director, a playwright, an actor, a producer. I've also consult on ways of growing theater with communities, specifically the Latinx community, but also in ways of utilizing theater in our daily lives. As an actor, I studied, went to a really great school, but there was always something missing, and that was really when you go into acting, you kind of really have to know who you are. So you have to really understand your identity and what that means in the bigger scope, like and how you may be perceived. And so there's a lot of reflection and a lot of searching. And then also, somebody of color and a Latina woman, you also experience things, right? And from my experience, a lot of discrimination in the casting room, and then also just the roles that were available. And so that shifted my focus as an actor. And while I was in college, I had been working with my professors in programs in East LA, and looking at those students who were high school and middle school who were participating in programming after school. It really inspired me, and I saw myself in them, and I realized the impact of theater. As to what I wanted to do with that, I hadn't a clue, but I was like, wow, this is an incredible model. Again, learning from models, my mom, this program, and what that sort of means. Again, not knowing, I was like, oh, I'm going to be an actor. And I did. And I pounded the pavement. Back then we didn't have the internet like the way we do now. I mean, you had to have like hard copies and snail mail and faxes from your agents and casting directors and change in your pager. And, if you had to call in your answering service and your Thomas guide. It was a lot of work. And that was,
I'm going to stop you there because I want to cut out because I have no idea what a pager is.
Because you're so young.
So young. What's a pager? What's a fax?
Name is Sylvia Ichar, and I started Para Todos magazine 25 years ago, the first Spanish language publication in Orange County. Important features in the magazine is the outstanding personality of the month. So I interview, owners of little restaurants or people, presidents. And the most touching situation that I faced was a professor that wouldn't tell me his origins because he was just talking how great he was. But then I ended up learning, and it was an incredible teaching point for my readers. So that was very, very, unique. But then I got, people that are outstanding, generous, and so willing, like Lulu's dessert. She gave herself everything she knew, and very helpful. People calling or sending emails saying, thank you, I got what I needed because I read this or that. And that was my pay.
My name is Tatiana Quave. I'm currently the Director of Marketing Strategy for Disneyland. And to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm originally from Brazil. I grew up in Sao Paulo and lived there until I was 18 and moved to the US to go to college. It took me a while and many ups and downs and lessons learned to finally realize that our minds can be our biggest allies or our worst enemies. And it really wasn't until I figured out how to manage and unleash the power of my mind that things started to work out, making sure I was keeping a positive growth mindset the whole time, managing the little voice inside our heads, the imposter voice or self-critic that sometimes can be really harsh on our own selves, especially women. Latinas, we have high expectations of ourselves, and sometimes we can be our worst critics, but putting ourselves down, over time can be, not helpful. So I think the biggest thing that I have learned is to actually invert the pyramid is the way I talk about it, because most of us might, think about priorities in terms of maybe work, family, and then ourselves, or family, work, and then ourselves. Like, we're often in the bottom of the pyramid because we give out, right? We prioritize everybody else first before ourselves. And what I realize is that we almost need to invert that pyramid. We need to take care of ourselves first, then family, and then work. The truth is, if our cup isn't full, if we're not taking care of ourselves, we can't be our best selves and then show up in the highest possible way for our family or even at work. And I know, at least for me, at first, it felt like that was a little selfish, like I felt a little guilty. But the more I became comfortable doing that, especially right now with everything that's going on, we have to make sure we're taking care of our mindset, that we're remaining positive, calm, and it can take just a couple minutes. Go for a walk, read a book, take a little spa moment in the bathtub, whatever it is that, you want to do to sort of fill your cup and take care of yourself first, I think is one very important thing to do, especially right now.
My name is Judy Veras Bueno, and I am a spiritual and emotional guide. Basically, I'm a soul surgeon. And what is it that I'm a soul surgeon? Because I truly work with women, especially women, who are in so much pain that they haven't really found out what it is, not only what it is that they want to do in life, but why is it that they, even though they have achieved so much, they don't feel good about themselves. They feel less than. And usually they have this feeling of abandonment, the feeling of rejection, and the inability to love and embrace who they are. So these are the women that I work with, to basically look into their soul and bring all those beautiful things they have, the strength, the courage, the leadership, and just allow them, help them to get empowered so that they can bring that into our communities, because we need that more than ever now. I asked myself, what would it be that thing when I was in such a bad state? What would it be that thing that would allow me to create a new life? And that's what I did with the book. With the book, it's basically, it's a practical guide. What does that mean, a practical guide? One of the first things that I talk about is that everything in your life happened for a reason. Everything in your life happened for a reason, and everything, like I went through sexual abuse, I went through depression, I went through anxiety, you name it, right? But then that is what made me stronger. This is what made me the person that you see today. And this is what made me the person that is able to help other women empower and heal themselves, right? And so the first thing is awareness. That is the first thing that you must come to terms with it, because I lived for 22 years in denial. I will say, well, things are not so bad. And I almost, it felt like feeling that way was normal. Feeling always down and depressed and sad and just not at ease with myself, right? I thought it was normal. It's like, this thing where, you ask the fish, have you seen the water? And the fish is like, wow, water. Because we make it normal, that those sort of feeling. And it is not normal. It's not normal. So it's that awareness. It's starting to understand, questioning your life. There is a whole chapter that I dedicated to asking better questions, right? Because I believe that the question that we are asking ourselves, and we're asking every day of our lives, we're able to produce from 12,000 all the way to 82,000 thoughts a day. And so, and 85% of those thoughts are negative and 90% are repetitive. So we are telling ourselves a story. And so the idea is become aware of your story.